Thanks for staying with us. And now, some oil marketers in Lagos are ditching their NNPC logo from their filling stations to access cheaper fuel supplies. This shift follows a recent price drop by Dangote Petroleum Refinery, which now offers lower loading costs for petrol. The deregulated downstream oil market has intensified competition, prompting dealers to abandon traditional franchise deals with NNPCL. They are rebranding to secure cost-effective alternatives. Experts say this trend marks a broader industry shift as marketers pursue higher profit margins amid a fierce pricing war in the oil sector. Our guest this morning is Kingsley Jeremiah, editor, Energy and Power of The Guardian. Good morning and welcome to the program, Kingsley.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the program today.
Yeah. So walk us through the implication of this rebranding, as it were, of the oil marketers.
What I would say is that the current situation is expected. Marketers will continue to, one way or the other, look for ways to benefit from the deregulated market. The downstream market of the industry has a number of parties who will always seek towards what will be much more beneficial for them. And I think that both the NNPC, the Dangote refinery, the major marketers and the independent marketers are majorly after their profits. So as the downstream market changes, most of the players in the market will have to readjust their business, one, to suit their purpose. Majorly, they are in business to make profits, and whichever angle they are able to maximize their profit from, a lot of them will rely more around that first before they think about the bigger players or the consumers.
Okay, so what was the agreement with the NNPCL in the first place that they are trying to jettison now and rebrand? I hear that they are now taking on the logo of MRS so that they can access this fuel from the Dangote refinery and make profit that you have just talked about.
So over time, the smaller marketers, particularly independent, indigenous marketers, for supply security, have taken franchise with most major players. This doesn't limit to NNPC alone. Most of the fuel stations you see branded as NNPC, as Oando, and other, over time, entered this franchise. They are owned by individuals, but entered franchise with the bigger players so that they can have supply security. At some point, when NNPC became a privatized entity, it was going out strongly to become the largest retail outlet in Nigeria. And in that course, took over a number of other stations too. So this arrangement basically give a level of guarantee to most of the smaller marketers. At least they will have the guarantee of receiving products from time to time, while the bigger players that they are franchising with will also have a level of benefit from them. So at this point, because of the changing dynamics in the market, it is not strange to find most of those people trying to stay back. In staying back, they are also looking at what is much more beneficial for them. So that's what is playing out, and this kind of issues should be expected going forward.
But this so-called price war that's going on, to whose benefit will it be? Because before we saw the slashing of prices, the pump price or the lifting price of Dangote oil, we heard that the independent marketers were trying to go out and source for oil because the prices from outside, sourcing outside, became cheaper than Dangote oil. Then all of a sudden we saw that price slash, and some of them will run at a loss because they had already tried to get fuel from outside the country. And when they run at a loss, some people are seeing this as the war that is the beginning of the stifling of other marketers, independent marketers and all that by Dangote, which will lead ultimately to monopoly. which even the NNPCL is not helping matters at all. So who is going to benefit at the end of the day when we're talking about this price war? Is it really a price war that will benefit the people, or is it a price war that is the beginning of something more sinister?
First of all, let me say that it will be difficult to sustain the price war, both on the Dangote part and also on the NNPC parts. And when this kind of situation is created, you don't have a competitive market, especially when a single player can outrightly just disrupt the market. So this is what is playing out. At some point, recently, there have been about 3 times that we've seen reduction from the Dangote refinery now, or price changes. In the first place, the price came down, and most marketers rushed to buy up products and all of that. And even at the rate the price was dropping, most of the people who were importing could still sell and then make profit. So it doesn't really affect most of the people who were importing, and the masses, the people who were buying the product, will eventually suffer the consequence. Also, the smaller marketers in the market will also suffer this consequence. So imagine a price drop where the smaller marketers go up, stock up products, and then the next day they are waking up to a higher price. Or imagine a higher price announced at some point, and most of the marketers already stock up products that will serve them for, say, about a week or 2, and all of a sudden the price drops. It's going to affect the smaller marketers. Most of the bigger marketers that have the capacity to bring in products into the country will somehow make a lot of money in the space of price drop, price increase. Why the smaller guys who are trying to source products from the people who are bringing it in, or the people who are refining locally, we get stuck with their products. So the markets need to be very competitive. Competitive in the sense that no single person should have the capacity to outrightly distort the market up and down. So the market has to some extent be stable. And then it is not much of a local market. It is an international market. Even if the products, the crude is bought locally and then sold either in Naira or whatever price it is still benchmark around the dollar, and also benchmark around what the prices of crude is at the international market and what the price of product is at the international market. So whatever fluctuation you see within the local market won't give us a stable market. We should look forward to a stable market where the market is outrightly competitive, and not a market where either the NNPC or the Dangote refinery is trying to fight. Where 2 elephants always fight, the grass will bear the consequence. So the masses will eventually bear the consequence. The smaller entities who should be able to pay their workers and then do their business and able to plan towards wherever they need to import, we suffer the consequence eventually. By the end of the day, Nigerians still suffer, because across most of those stations, you have Nigerians working there. You have Nigerians who have invested their money in buying the products and running their stations. These are the people that suffer the consequence of whatever will happen.
Well, but what do we need to put in place to make sure this competitive market is achieved? Because right now, that is not what we're finding here. And it seems as if we're not going to get there anytime soon if we continue in this trajectory. So what is it that needs to be put in place? Even now, the NNPCL, which was supposed to be the competition, at least for now, is still importing fuel, and they're not doing anything to show that they are ready to be that competitor to Dangote. Because they told us the Port Harcourt refinery is working. It doesn't seem like it's working the way it should work. They told us that the Warri refinery is back on now. It doesn't seem as if it is working. And even the larger Port Harcourt refinery that was supposed to come on stream is not on stream right now, and they're still importing. They're insisting on importing fuel. So we are worried. Nigerians are worried. That competition, market forces making the product affordable and accessible is what Nigerians want. What needs to be put in place now, urgently, to make sure we can get that competition, at least in the next coming years?
So the current market structure, especially in terms of regulation, is still very weak. The Nigerian Midstream Downstream Regulatory Authority needs to wake up to its responsibility. Sadly, the market seems to be, some players in the market seems to be bigger than the regulator. And when you find such situation, it's just a serious mess and a serious problem. Most of the players, most of the big players are not submitting to the regulator, and the regulator seems to be very helpless around that. When you see that kind of situation, then you should know that we are in for some level of trouble. So we need to find a way to make sure that the regulator live up to his responsibility. The regulator is able to regulate Dangote refinery, regulate NNPC refinery as it should be. The regulator is able to tell us the quality of the product we are getting, both from Dangote refinery, NNPC refinery. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. So they should be able to tell us the quality of the product we are getting from NNPC refineries, Dangote refinery, and we need to hold the regulators accountable. And regulator now, I'm talking about the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Regulatory Authority. Whatever happens to the market, they need to be responsible for that. So we need to channel our energy into making sure that the NNDPRA work as they should work. We also need to hold the Nigerian Consumer Commission accountable for most of the things that happen within the sector. If these two regulators are not performing their duty, then the hope of the masses in terms of the quality of the petroleum products we get, as well as the structure of the market, is something that we will eventually blame ourselves for. And since we are just building a market now where we need to buy petroleum products locally, we need to make sure that the market is structured in such a way that it can last. So if we begin with a price war and then all of the fighting you see in the downstream, eventually the masses will suffer for wherever inefficiency or wherever most of the bigger players would want to struggle with within themselves.
Okay. Well, let's look at let's just see what happens in the coming days. We hope that competition will come. We hope that more people will have licenses. We hope that the situation will be conducive enough for a lot of people to play in that sector and give Nigeria that breath of life that we are so much seeking. I would like to thank you, Kingsley, for coming on the show this morning. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful.
We've been talking with Kingsley Jeremiah, editor, Energy and Power, the Guardian newspaper. We're going to take a little break, a very, very short break. And when we return, we'll be talking about something else. Stay with us.